Development Series. This workshop is organized by the Student Services Department of AUIS. My name is Lawen Siran and I am the Student Services Coordinator. We are today hosting one of our amazing alumni, another of our amazing alumni, Kak Brusk Hamarash, who is the head of digital development team of the information technology department and the KRG. It's a very long title. I spent some time to to remember it. Kak Brusk, welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here today, for taking the time to do this.
Thank you very much, Kakala, and it's a pleasure to be back with the US again. I've done a couple of talks before in the conference room upstairs, I'm delighted to be back here. So briefly to give you an introduction about myself, my name is Brusk. I'm an AUIS alumni. I graduated in 2017 from the Department of Information Technology, and I work in the Department of Information Technology of KRG. I work as the head of digital development. So basically, I'm leading a team that's working on the development projects, basically coding and software engineering, and making sure that we have the government has the proper infrastructure in terms of software and solutions. We are a team, a small team, but a growing team here at the department.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Kak Bruce, as I mentioned before in our previous conversations, today's goal of this webinar is to show AUIS students and AUIS community that AUIS alumni could actually work in the government. And I didn't know this, I think, 6 months ago. And it's very interesting to me that it is now actually available. We have this opportunity, this chance to be working in the government. And I couldn't find anyone better than you for this. I'd like to, before we get into working for the government, which is the goal of the webinar, I would just like to get your experience because this series is actually called Alumni Experience Sharing. I'd like to just get your experience, share your experience with us right after graduation. I know you've worked in several sectors. You had your own business. I'd like you to explain how that feels. What is that feeling? Please.
Correct. When I graduated in 2017, I already back a year back, I have started a startup company with a couple of colleagues, and we were also AUIS students back then in 2016. So when I graduated, actually, I had a plan figured out on how to start my career. And the company that I established was called Meta Solutions, was a software solutions company. And the goal was to provide software as a service to other industries and enterprises using custom tailored solutions from scratch that was created by the company. And back when I graduated, it has been already a year, I guess, when Meta Solutions was already established. So my plan was to enhance it, make sure that it can meet the requirements, the objectives, the short term and the long run ones. So it was a very intensive and a very good experience, to be honest. I mean, having your own business is totally a different story than working for a company or the government or any other sector, in the sense that if you and things like startup companies do not start with a lot of money. There isn't a lot of capital investment in it, so there's a lot of work on your shoulder needs to be done, including that I am personally a resource that is more fit in the coding and let's say the professional services part, where I can code and engineer systems and all of that, but I also had to manage the company at the same time. So it was in some ways intense and also exhausting because I had to deal with clients write proposals, prepare presentations, make sure that we have the correct plan for the action plan for the customer, as well as coding it, making sure that the software development team has also an idea on how to go about it and make sure that the software is written with the quality that needs to be delivered, as well as, of course, making sure that the company overall in the long run can get to where it needs to get. So to be honest, this is a lot of work for one person. I mean, and especially in the beginnings, this is where you need to do lots of things yourself. And because there isn't a lot of money in it, the default way, the natural way to do things is through business bootstrapping, which is basically you do some kind of businesses with clients, but you will make sure that you will use the profit from those funds to reinvest it in the field in the firm again. So basically, I spent quite about 3 years working on my own company. It was a very nice and one of the best experiences of my life. And this is, I would say, right after graduation, it was the amount of work that I needed to complete um, what I've learned at AYS. Um, it was what made me become what I am today. Because without the experience, and it's a wild thing, to be honest, because you're a person who had never had any kind of experiences. You're just going into the wild, meeting customers who will getting tough on you, people who you have no idea how things is going to work. You have to figure it out along the process. It's a very important learning process, but it's also a profitable learning process, because while you're learning things, you're also making money, and you make sure that your goals are you're closer to your goals, of course.
Brilliant. So you obviously talked about some advanced methods of running your business and advanced methods of even doing your business, like writing codes and whatnot. You're the expert in that. But I want to go back to the point that you started your business 1 year before graduation. Okay.
Yes.
So I have the idea, the way I understand it is that AUIS had something to do with that. I would just like to ask, how did AUIS prepare you for starting up your own business while you were not a business major and you were an IT going to be graduate? If that my question makes sense.
Yes, so makes a lot of sense. AUI is actually, I mean, it's not easy to talk about the whole experience in a couple of sentences, but I'll do my best to summarize it. In my opinion, AUIS is important in my life, and I can only talk about my story. It's a little bit anecdotal, so it might have been different for other people. But for me, AUIS was not about learning technicalities. It wasn't that. So AUIS is not also it's not a place to become an expert on one technical issue. And it says so. It's a liberal art university. You get to learn a couple of here and here from things from here and there. You are a jack of all trades, but master of none, which is good. I mean, the idea is that AUIS is important. It's about the culture. It's about the mentality. It's about the environment that we as students grew up learning lots of things from the surroundings, from classes, of course, from the way AUIS handles the student life during the 4 or 5 years of studying there. So overall, to me, it was a process more than a project. It wasn't something that I have learned overnight. It was something that I've learned over 4 or 5 years being a student at the AUIS, where my horizon of thinking has absolutely changed. When I joined AUIS, I was a different person than when I graduated. It's totally different person. And in one sense, I've talked about this in many ways before, on multiple other occasions. I was not a serious guy before. I mean, I was always had my passion in things, but I was not that guy. My father and my mother had to actually force me to go back to high school. But when I started studying at UIS, and I was on the track, no one even knew what I was doing. No one was even worried about me afterwards, because the environment at the UIS was so friendly, so good, that it didn't actually need anyone to push me forward to go to back to school. And although even, and to be honest, in the first years, the first year I had struggled, and I had a couple of problems with absences. But yet, I mean, I grew up to become a different person because the things I loved, the things I liked, I found them all at AUIS. And more importantly, I found people that share the same kind of desires and things with me, the same topics of interest with so many other people around me. So I can't say it's one thing. It isn't one class. It isn't one specific thing. It's a lifestyle. The AUIS lifestyle definitely prepares you to be a different person. It's the thinking, I would say, the way you're thinking about things, thinking outside of the box, is one of the most crucial things that you learn at AUIS. And because it's a liberal arts university, it does exactly what it needs to do. It gives you better perspectives on seeing things and thinking about things.
I
So I'll
couldn't
say in
agree
that
more.
way, that's my preparation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, even some students who don't like the way things are run and the systems in AYS, it's the AYS methodology of studying and educating is what made them actually question those flaws and gaps. And there are flaws in everywhere, in every
Exactly.
system. So I think you raised some amazing points there. I would like to go to after graduation again. I'd just like to say, if you could think of something that was the most difficult thing after graduation, what would that be? And again, how did AUS take a part in that?
Of course. Well, for me, I can say this. It was a totally professional obstacle. Um, to me, I was from day one, and even before studying at the UI, I was always into a couple of topics such as philosophy, politics, and those things that has to do with existence and stuff. So when I got into UIS, my knowledge was getting a little bit stronger on things. I studied multiple courses that has to do with philosophy and things like those. But when I graduated, the main thing I faced was an existential crisis. It was when, you see, I guess it has something to do with the way schools and I mean generally your lifestyle from when you start school from 6 years old up to the day you graduate. There's some kind of way your mind is wired. It's that you only see short-term objectives. So when I was in primary school, when I finished a grade, I passed to the second grade, there wasn't anything to be worried about. There's always the next thing to do, right? The primary school done, okay, there's the secondary school. Let's go there. When secondary school was done, then let's go to high school. When you go into high school, there was the university. So you don't need to be worried about what to do next, right? There isn't any purpose question in things. But when you graduate, I mean, of course, there's masters and there is higher education, PhDs, of course, but those are, as you know, many people take that as an optional thing. It's not a requirement to have a proper education. But to me, when I graduated, then I saw that the obstacle, the short-term objectives are gone. Now there isn't anything else to do. So you're just you in this wilderness, and you have to find a meaning for things. You have to find to create your own purpose. And AYS has been a great place to think on how to create that. And in the first place, I would say the misery perhaps comes also from where you get a lot of things at AYS. You get to this point where you're thinking about purpose and things like this too much. But this is good. This is you being very aware about yourself, thinking about your future, your existence first of all as a human being, rather than anything else, as an individual, rather than a family member or a court or a anything else. I mean, it's you, purely you that you're thinking about. To me, it was a very good experience that I was prepared and equipped with the tools and the methodologies and everything from AYS to think, how can I, now I'm in this wilderness, how can I create something here? So it wasn't that how to escape it; it was how to create something in the plain wilderness. So in my opinion, that's the most difficult thing I faced was that. But at the same time, the most difficult thing in my career was that, okay, now we have graduated. This is real. How can I move forward? How can I proceed with this? It's not easy to have your own business, start with it with so many other complications and so many things. But the overall idea was that, I mean, all during the time at AYS, the most important thing that I have learned is that it's thinking, how you can think about things. There isn't anyone to help you. You need to do this on your own. So you have to, and there's things you've learned along the way that helps you to get there where you want.
Yeah, you actually hit the nail on the head. I couldn't thought or even put it better than that. Thank you for that answer. It was very
My
elaborate.
pleasure.
Now, getting to the core of our today's topic, I would like to find out. First of all, how long have you been working for the government?
It's now a year and a month, so 13 months.
Perfect. All right. So I
Yes.
would like to begin by asking what motivated you working for the government? Because as you see, from people, there isn't usually much motivation to go and work for the government. People actually choose private companies or start their own businesses. I'm very interested to get your perspective on that. What motivated you? What did you find very interesting about your position and working for the government?
Yes, so that's not some that's I totally understand that why so many people are could be frustrated with why working for the government, but also there's something special that I need to talk about. DIT is a little different than the rest of the government.
Mhm.
There's a different mindset, different mentality here, and a smaller team. It doesn't work like the rest of the government a lot of times. Yes, it is part of the government. It's a governmental institution, but in here. Things are a little different, I would say. But going back to the question, what made me, what motivated me to work for the government? Of course, it wasn't that it wasn't the government alone. It was the Department of Information Technology. So I wouldn't have worked in the Ministry of Education, for example. I mean, that's not where I should be, I guess. But as for motivations, I worked. I the current situation in this country has doesn't leave you with too many options. What we have is massive corruption, lots of problems, and the only way to do this is reforms, and implementation of reforms is the only way to do it is technology. So I have the heart of the country at the interest of the country at heart. That's the most important thing to me. I know that as a nation, there's no other way to move forward except that we go full scale digital. There isn't any other way that we can fix it and get out of this trouble that we are now. And luckily, everyone else recognizes this on the government level, that the only way to fix all of these troubles and mess is to digitize things and to go full digital and bring digital transformation to the heart of governance. But then again, there is the question of I have a pretty good skill set, and I can serve my country well. If not me, then who? I guess that the question that drives me all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very interesting because these kinds of methods, digitalizing everything, is adopted by every country in the world, and it's so hopeful, or it's you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you see there is a department actually within the government that is trying to make things better. And I think that's, as you mentioned, that's probably the biggest motivation for you to wake up every day and then go to work, because you have the best interest of the country in your heart. I'd like to just elaborate on your department. Could you give us a brief description of where you work, and then also what is the vision and the mission of that place that you work in, or the department that you work in?
Of course, the Department of Information Technology is a department under the Council of Ministers. Is part structurally is part of the Council of Ministers. And now the main by the mandate that we have is the Department of Information Technology is fully responsible for digital services all around the KRG and all of its entities. Well, we basically we would like, I mean, we are on a mission to enable full-scale digital transformation by building the proper and solid infrastructure that allows us to move forward. And we would like to make digital services at the heart of governance, and ensuring that we as a nation, we can utilize technology to bring real changes that affect people's lives and to make lives easier for everyone. And that's at the same time also gives the government different tools and methodologies on how to tackle internal problems the government has within itself. So we only, in a way, we are providing three kind of services. We're providing government to government services. This is where we create software, we deliver equipment and other kind of services to other governmental entities. There's also the G2C, which is the government to citizen services, where we bring digital services to the citizens. And there's the third one, the government to businesses services, where we keep the private sector in the loop and provide them with the proper digital services that allows them to grow and function in a better way. So that's basically the kind of things we are working on currently. But the overall vision, I would say, is that how we can integrate and make sure that technology is a substantial part of radically changing things for the better.
Mhm. So your answer drove me to think of several things, maybe several keywords in there. One of them being citizens, and on the other side where you have customers. On the side you have government, you have private companies. So I would like to know, owning a business, what is the difference between owning a business and working for the government? Obviously, there are totally different spectrums, totally different industries. The professionality is still there, but you're, at the end of the day, you're working with different, even if it's different words. On one side you have customers, on one side you have
Yes.
citizens. What are the main differences between owning a business or working for a private company and working for the government, in your opinion?
Correct. So the main difference is that what I see now is there's a noble purpose to my work. The way I see it, we're doing a service that will be very soon in the future. We are hoping that soon in the future will be appreciated by everyone, because what we are trying to bring onto the table is a full change of how things is going to be for Kurdistan. This is actually going to be on a national level. It's going to change our perception of ourselves, and for the future generations, we're making lives better for everyone. This is fundamental. What the kind of changes we're bringing in is fundamental to the way we think about government, the way things are being done at the government, and the citizenship experience as whole is going to change due to the kind of things we're going to introduce very soon. But the difference I would say between having your own company and working for the government is that, of course, both of them have their own strengths and their own I mean, I would say taste. But at the same time, what you do for the government is a little different. Things at the government is there's a lot of dimensions you need to deal with. It isn't easy. I mean, it is bringing change. I mean, create a software, but okay, how do you enforce it? So change management is very important. So we are also not the enforcers here. We create the software, I mean, but we would love that to work out. So make sure that we invest in the right software. At the same time, when there's a lot of proposals, I mean, there are about 300 digital services that we need to build, but we're not that big a team. I mean, we're only about 50 people officially, with about 25, 30 people working on the technical details and everything else. So we need to prioritize things. You need to work on the things that are most prior, and other things should wait until we have time, resources, money, and everything else to go after. And luckily, we have the support we need, and that's the very good news. We have every support that we need from everyone else, and from top leadership of the country. They recognize the problems. But the thing is here, um, I mean, the difference is that there's lots of calculations needs to be done. It's not a simple transaction where you build software and you give it and hand it over to a customer or a medium customer. By the end of the work you do, you're immediately changing things. So I can give you an example. Back when I joined here in January 2020, after a couple of months, we right away started working on a software called the IAS. We have created that software right from scratch. It's now used as the main software to manage the finances of the government.
Wow.
Just today, the chief of staff of the prime minister has announced that software is capturing $400 million worth of data acquisition. So, and they are now making better decisions. The government is able to see how things are running. Back then it was paperwork. Now it's a system that allows transparency, and right out of the box, it kills about 80% of corruption, if any, right? It gives you more transparency on things. Now you can see the government can make informed decision on things. But what I meant by that example is that, okay, that was a software that we created. Back when I created softwares for other customers, it was a great pleasure to see them actually use it in real time and making their businesses do better. But now you're actually changing lives, because that money that could have been wasted in the lack of a good digital system now is being saved by the government to use it for real projects, and that affects life. I mean, that's the joy of working as in the government sector, but at the same time, it's a huge responsibility. One zero difference is going to be millions of dollars. Differences in your system. So we are very careful with that, of course, but engineering of these things, delivery of these things, making sure the quality is perfect, is difficult. It's not easy. There's a lot of liability.
Absolutely. You mentioned all the difficulties that you may face during working for the government, and I can imagine like the layers of operations. For example, getting an approval for something, how long it takes, how much paperwork it takes, the bureaucracy, and it should be like this because there should be close control on certain things in the government. But following with what I said, I would like to ask you. Um, Say someone wanted to work for the government as yourself, what would be a good advice for them? What is one thing that you think they would benefit from once they think about working for the government?
Well, it depends. Really, I can't give them a proper advice on that, to be honest, because the government is different. The government yet needs to do a lot of reforms and do a lot of um enhancement in its own human resources policies. Because you see, I am here on a contract base at the department, and I'm not an employee. I'm not on the payroll of the Ministry of Finance. I'm on the payroll of I'm getting my payment from the department directly on a contract basis. So it's a little different because not every ministry has initiatives. Not every entity has initiatives like DIT, and not everywhere there is the same kind of freedom that is enabled that DIT perhaps can have, because everyone else recognizes that. I mean, I can give you a realistic example about this. I mean, if you go on contract on anywhere else, it basically you will be paid about 500,000 dinars. I mean, that salary is not even good for anyone. That's not livable, right? I mean, um, so that's how the government is designed. It's an old kind of policies that needs to be changed, and I'm sure will change in the future. You cannot get a developer to do all of these kind of work for that amount of money. I mean, it's just unlivable. right? So there is some kind of room for changes in that. I mean, you can change the contract a little bit here and there, and if you get paid well in some other ministries on contract, then I absolutely agree you should consider it. But I would say only go there if you see a vision, if you see the correct leadership, if you see the correct plan at hand. So I joined the IT back in the days. Of course, I love to join the IT. The problem is not money, but of course, I cannot live on 500,000 dinars and leave everything behind myself. So, I mean, the payment is proper as long as it's livable, right? The payment is proper, but I'm also at the same time, I want to be involved in this. I wanted to be part of this because this is really, really important stuff going on. And again, if not us, then who? That's always the question that drives me. We have good resources, good technical resources, good managemental resources in this country. Why should we not utilize it? And luckily enough, I have been contacted by the department. They were very nice to invite me here and talk to me about the plans they had. I was more than happy to serve on the department for the government.
Yeah, without a doubt. I've two questions that are kind of related together to each other. One of them is that, so it seems like there are more opportunities for AUS graduates to work in the government, especially or only the IT department for now, but maybe there will be more opportunities for students for graduates to work. I'd like to just if possible, for you to explain how those opportunities are currently. Are there many opportunities? Are there plans, if you have any idea, for more opportunities for AUIS graduates? And also, what would the hiring process be like in your department, for example, or in the government in general? Not those places who are not like IT department, but the places who are like IT department or will be like IT department.
Yes. So generally, I can say that other ministries and other entities have their own. It happens that I'm not aware of them. There might be, and I've heard here and there they have also plans to change the way things work in their own ministries and stuff. But I can only speak of the for the IT, I would say. And here we are not only looking after good people, we want them very badly. And I've been I mean, the department also been posting job offers and job openings all in LinkedIn, Twitter, and every social media that we could do. And we want our good people to be on board. It's correct that now it's the Department of Information Technology that I can speak of, but I'm pretty sure other ministries will have also initiatives later. As for hiring process, we are just like any other, pretty much like anywhere else. We roll out the job posting, we collect the CVs that are sent to us, then we decide which profile best suits the position. And we absolutely do not care about your political affiliation, personal beliefs, gender, ethnicity, your personal preferences, or etc. I mean, as long as you are technically can do the job, we don't care about anything else. And as these factors are not part of our selection criteria. As a matter of fact, we encourage everyone to apply, especially women. And very recently, the software development team, the digital development team, has hired a female developer, and we have other females on different teams in the quality assurance team. Are led and run by two female team members. But it was the first time that we have a female software developer in the department, and it has been such a delight to have her on board. And we encourage everyone else to apply. There isn't really any kind of preferences or any prejudice against anything. We're totally cool with whatever you are, as long as you can do the work, and that's the most important part for us. But what I'd like to tell AUI's IT graduates, and that's something that I would like them to listen to. There is a lot of room for you to be part of the Department of Information Technology when you graduate. And please look at the industry standards. Please look at the things that we want. Don't go and learn things that other countries needed. Go and learn things that your country need. We There's a bunch of technology stack that we are looking after. Lots of things. I don't want to bore you with technicalities. I don't want to waste your webinar's time with going to technical terms and stuff. But there's a lot of things. Please follow us on Twitter and on other social media. See what are the technical requirements that we're looking for. And if you happen to have any of those tech expertise on your CV, we will be much, much more than happy to take you on board with us, because we're not going to look, and the first priority of hiring is that we first look locally. We look locally. If we can find people, we do our intensive research to find people locally. And if it happens that it's absolutely urgent, that then we can't find anyone here that does this thing for on a project basis, we have no other option but to consult someone outside, but which actually have not been the case so far. And the time that I've been here, all people are locals from Kurdistan. No one, we have not consulted anyone from outside. Of course, there's private companies that we work with, but that's a different story. We have not hired anyone that's not from Kurdistan or from the country. But altogether, I mean, I highly encourage the people in the IT department of AUIS to please um, consider what I am saying, that in the very soon future, we will be rolling out positions after position, because we're not just building the infrastructure. Once the infrastructure is enabled, you're just opening a gate for digital services that will never be closed. Ministries after ministries, digital services will come in and needs to be re-engineered and redeveloped. So I'm personally very hopeful, and I see a lot of potential for future growth. Not only why, as every other department. As I said, we don't really care about your background and anything else, as long as you're technically fit and you're the right person for the position. But I highly encourage everyone, and especially the IT department, to consider it for future.
Absolutely brilliant. Just to be before we finish off our webinar, I'd like to point out that the department is based in Hawler, so the work will be in Hawler, and also I think you can follow all their social media channels on Facebook and Twitter, for example. I think it's under the name KRG, Department of Information Technology, if I'm not wrong, Brusk. Okay,
Correct.
Then you'll see all the vacancies they have, and you can apply through that. Brusk, thank you so much for being here today with us. This was a brilliant opportunity for me and for AUIS to speak to you and know about more opportunities, new chances for us to develop and excel. Thank you again for your time. Just before we finish off, I would like to remind everyone, if you haven't subscribed to our AUI's official channel, please do that right now, so you don't miss any of our webinars and you are notified every time we go live. Brusk, thank you so much. If you have any closure statements, we would be more than happy to hear you out.
Thank you very much, Kakala, and I appreciate the opportunity. And the US is always a very sincere place to my heart. It's something that I'm very proud that I'm an alumni of AUIS. It helped me a lot, and I'm wishing when I get back to Suli, I can come back to the campus and have a tour together.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you very
Brusk,
much.
have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. Good.